discuss the drug trade. This evening on the Black Agenda, I want to continue to look at the issue of drug trafficking in the Caribbean, and I will read some more from this great book by Darius Figuera, Cocaine and Heroin Trafficking in the Caribbean. And this book, of course, authored by Dr. Darius Figuera, who is the region's leading authority on the drug trade. There is no other individual that we can pinpoint in the entire Caribbean region, coming up out of the University of the West Indies, that has given such in-depth, detailed, quantitative and qualitative research on this issue. And we want to, again, draw enlightenment from this book. So I'm going to get straight into it. On page 32, Dr. Figuera writes, in Trinidad and Tobago, the illicit drug transshipping trade is dominated by crime families, with Afro-Trinbagonians as a race group excluded from the ruling elite of the illicit drug transshipment trade. He says the two majority race groupings in multi-racial Trinbago are Africans and Indians, or Afro and Indo-Trinbagonians. But the Africans, Afro-Trinbagonians, are relegated to be consumers, middle-level functionaries of the illicit drug trade, and members of the state agencies and the political elite that sell favors to the illicit drug transshippers. Moreover, since the late 1960s to the present, there is a deliberate marketing plan to saturate areas of Trinbago where African Trinidadians or Afro-Trinbagonians dominate the population with illicit drug retailing outlet blocks. So here Dr. Figuera is explaining that, okay, you have all of these major races in Trinidad and Tobago, but the Africans are the ones who have been excluded from being the major drug lords, the heads of these syndicates, the leaders of these cartels. The black people have been at the bottom level. But for some reason, anytime there are arrests made related to drugs, it's always the petty little street criminal, teenager, gangster little boy from the ghetto communities who's hanging out on the block who gets arrested by the police, who can in no way impact on or influence or affect the drug trafficking realities by being removed from the food chain. But those who are on the top level, for some reason, are never ever caught, never ever arrested, never ever apprehended or even reprimanded. And this is why you have a consistent, continuous cycle of drug trafficking taking place that is related to murder, kidnappings, robbery, blood-shedding, bloodletting, non-stop throughout all of the Caribbean areas that are affected by this. It is only the petty, poor black boy in the street who gets caught, and the major drug traffickers appear to be above the law. But let's go on a bit more. That was page 32. On page 79, he substantiates the point, where he says, for in Trinidad and Tobago, the illicit drug trade is controlled by drug crime families who are racially as follows: Anglo-Saxon, meaning white, Syrian Lebanese, Chinese, and East Indian. Again, now, he looks at the position of the Africans in all of this. He says, Afro-Trinbagonians have never controlled the drug supply, retailing of drugs in or to the Afro-Trinbagonian population of Trinidad and Tobago. The sale of illicit drugs in Afro-Trinbagonian urban communities is then a transfer of value from one race grouping to non-black races, thereby deepening and heightening the poverty and arrested development that trap underclass Afro-Trinidadians, especially in the urban sprawl. Now, this is so deep when you consider it. He says on page 80, there exists in Trinidad and Tobago presently interlocking directorates made up of primarily Indo-Trinbagonian drug lords or their functionaries in the public sector who enjoy special relationships with the entire UNC government. And he talks about the East Indian drug cartels. Then he talks about the Syrian Lebanese drug cartels. Here he says on page 81, the Syrian Lebanese cartel is being directly challenged by the East Indian cartel for hegemony over the illicit drug markets of Trinidad and Tobago. He says the Syrian Lebanese cartel has chosen to respond to this challenge in 1995 and 2001 by financially supporting the PNM in general elections, whilst at the same time working out a detente with the East Indian cartel. And UNC electoral victory in the general elections of December 2001 would inevitably increase the push on the Syrian Lebanese cartel, which would be resolved via bloodletting. So these are, according to the research of Dr. Darius Figuera, some of the realities of the drug trade, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but in other parts of the Caribbean as well. These are some of the realities, in particular, that black people must be mindful of, and who, in particular, black people have to really rethink and reconsider their economic position at the bottom level of the social structure, not just as it pertains to the drug trade, but as it pertains to a number of various lifestyle choices and decisions. We have to change the way we live, but we also have to change the way that we think. Because even outside of the drug trade, when it comes to basic economics, trade and commerce, business and financial issues, black people find themselves at the base in the Caribbean social structure. And possibly it is for this reason that we have found ourselves in a situation where others, as vultures on the outside, can come into the black community and make tremendous profit of our ignorance and lack of unity.